There we go. Now I'm started. Okay. Mm. Good morning, everyone. Stevig's log. It is May 21st, 2026. It is 9:43 a.m. My head is burning. I just got my tea. I spilled tea all over the floor and had to sweep it up with a burning head. Life is fun. So, I got a couple of things I want to talk to you guys about. I got my tea. So, I had a doctor appointment, a big one, follow up with neurology on the 19th. So 3 days ago. Um, yeah, I don't know how many days ago that was. So yeah, 3 days ago. And my mom, Lynn from Illinois, came to it and she brought me a whole bunch of loose tea that I brew up in the coffee pot with a filter, and it is so good. So I'm drinking chai tea, loose tea, so it's so good. Oh my gosh, so good. Ah, well, hi, my Pookie. I see you. Where was I? Oh, the tea. So yeah, so I have awesome tea to drink. I have 5 containers of it, so it's gonna last a while. And um, so that's cool. Okay, so as some of you know, mostly people on Facebook, I've been posting a lot to Facebook about it. I haven't posted anything to YouTube about it yet. So let me tell you the Jen Gertson story. Been wanting to do that. I've been dealing with this for the last, what is today, Wednesday? Yeah, I don't know how many days it's been. Oh, my head. So, anyway, I'll get into the details of the story in a minute. Needless to say, she died in 2011. I thought I got over it. What I was doing was, as I was intellectualizing it, thinking I had gotten over it, shoving it aside because I'm like, I've already dealt with that. So what I was actually doing was burying it, suppressing it, and not dealing with it, not actually grieving. And it's no surprise that it kept coming up every 6 months to a year in like this wave of emotional grief that um kept surfacing. um well, it hit me again maybe a week ago. Maybe it's been maybe I think it's been about a week now. And I quickly came to the conclusion I haven't dealt with this yet. I'm still I don't know. Anyway, so I've been talking about it on Facebook, processing the feelings and grief and stuff like that. And I realized that I'm not going to actually heal from this until I find people that knew her and cared for about her to share her memory with. And I've actually found a couple people, and we've been talking about it. Crown number 1. What does that mean? Does that mean you're my biggest fan? I already knew that. Yeah, it does. You're my top fan. It's saying you're my top fan. That's funny. So anyway, where was I? I digress. I need more tea. Give me that tea. Okay. So, the Jen story. It's June of 1996. I'm at that ranch in Northern California. It's June. Everybody's graduated, prayed out. The ranch shuts down for a week. So everybody goes home. So I come back to Illinois for a week. While I'm there, I can't remember who I was staying with. I feel like I was staying at my dad's because I kept going. I don't know. Anyway, somebody gets a hold of me and says, "Hey, I know you like to play Doom. You guys remember that game on the computer and from the 90s, Doom?" Okay, so this guy's like, "Hey, I know this guy that plays Doom. Let me hook you up with him." So he gets me a hold of this guy named Don Gertson. And he proceeds to tell me he's got a 64-bit sound card on his computer. Now, if any of you remember 90s, why am I all the way in the corner of the screen? I'm just trying to sit comfortably, and I'm all the way jacked to the side of the screen. That's not good camera shooting. So anyway, so I get a hold of this guy, and I'm like, "Hey, yeah, I hear you got a 64-bit sound card. You play Doom. Let's hang out and play Doom." So he's like, "Okay, cool, sure." So I go over to his house. We're playing Doom with a 64-bit sound card, and his sister sticks her head in the door, just kind of pop in, see what's going on. So she now I have to be careful. How do I want to tell the story? Okay. So she sticks her head in the door. We're playing Doom. I'm not going to presume to assume I know what was going on in her head. I'm just going to go forward from what I was told. So she sticks her head in the door, and whatever, I don't think anything of it. I take note. Don's got a sister. She stuck her head in the door to see what was going on. So next day, couple days later, something like that, I get a hold of Don. I'm like, "Hey, you want to play some more Doom?" Because I was loving that 64-bit sound card. The computer I had at my house had a 16-bit sound card. That's the equivalent of playing an N64 game or listening to the soundtrack to an N64 game as to that over a Super Nintendo game. Some people had 32-bit sound cards, but Don Gertson, he had a 64-bit sound card. We're talking now you're playing with power. So I get a hold of it. He's like, well, no, I can't. I'm busy. I got stuff going on. But my sister wants to hang out with you. She really likes you. I'm 17. I'm thinking, oh, a girl likes me. Okay, I'll entertain that. I'll see what, comes of this. So we make arrangements for her to sneak out of the house that night. And she's going to come meet me in this open yard lot, about 3 acres of land behind my dad's house. There's a guy who lived on the street adjacent. It's a little court that comes back there. For whatever reason, everybody's house back there has a typical yard. There is one house that the property assigned to that house fills that entire lot. Everybody else has typical backyards. This one house in the middle is the house that actually owns all the land back there. So big, we called it a lot. It's just this big yard with trees and grass and whatever, a big open area. It was almost like a tiny little park in the middle of a neighborhood. So we arranged, she's going to sneak out of the house and meet me there. I go and buy her. Now this is a funny thing. So this is a beautiful thing about doing a live stream like this. I get to fill in all the fun little details. So, and I'm so good at that. Some people find it very distracting, but I film my stories and with all the little details to help flesh it out. So anyway, so she's coming. I know she's coming. I know she's gonna I knew she was going to want smokes. So I walked to the gas station. There's a guy that works at the gas station that I got to know really well when I worked at Cracker Barrel years in the future. But anyway, so I didn't really know him at the time. I'm a 17-year-old kid. The only ID I have is my high school ID. It's 1996. So I walk in there and he sells me a pack of cigarettes with my high school ID. I'm like, wow, that I didn't expect that to happen, but hey, okay, sure. So I come back. We meet up. We're hanging out. I give her the pack of cigarettes. We sit down. We're sitting under this tree, sitting under a tree, and we just kind of talk about stuff, get to know each other a little bit, talk about music. Turns out, we like all the same music. Soundgarden, Alice in Chains. It's 96. We're talking about alt rock from the 90s and how it was changing our lives because we were teenagers. So we had this magic, this chemistry, our energy and frequencies harmonized to the point that it bent time. Now, this is why I believe this theory is plausible. Time is not linear. Our human brains are designed to measure time in a linear way. But time is fluid. It fluctuates. It is not static. And proof of this is if you use velocity and approach the speed of light, time slows down. So it is not constant. And somebody pointed out in my men's group Monday night, the past and the future is an illusion. The truth is, the human brain can only process time one moment at a time. All we get to perceive is a tiny slice of the now. And our past, we build who we are and our expectations of the future on what we've processed about the slices of time we have perceived in the moment. So I tend to look at time as a constant. Anyway, I digress. Back to the story. So 5.5 hours go by. Me and Jen are sitting under this tree, just talking about stuff and letting our energy and our frequency harmonize and interweave with itself. 5 hours go by in what feels like a few minutes. Before we know it, the sun is coming up. And Jen's like, oh my gosh, I gotta get home. So she leaves. And the next day I go back to California for another 10 months. So in June of 97, I graduate high school. I get prayed out. It's my time to leave. Ranch shuts down in June again. So I come back to Illinois. I have it all set up. I'm going to Bible college in the fall. I have a summer to fill. What am I going to do all summer long? Well, I did a few things. I connected with a couple of people, got in a ska band that didn't go anywhere, made some good friends, new friends in the church and stuff like that. And I also came back to Illinois as a guitar player. I had never been that before, a guitar player in Illinois. And I had some good bonding moments with my sister, which I never really had before. We kind of got into this groove where we would watch MASH together, and we actually bonded over it. It was kind of nice. So summer of 97, played guitar with a few people, tried to reconnect with Jen. For whatever reason, it just missed the mark. Never came together. I'm 18, turning 19 at this point. So many things I don't understand about relationships and women. I thought I just needed to try harder. So I push a little harder. Looking back, I see I was just pushing too hard. So I go off to Bible college. Forget about it. December rolls around. It's Christmas time. My home church every year did a drive-through nativity. I had set up that Friday night, I think, mid-December. I was going to throw another beer party like I did back in 95. And only about 2 or 3 people showed up. And I wanted to make sure Jen knew I wanted her to come because I wanted to connect with her, talk with her, have that magic moment again. And well, she showed up with her boyfriend. So, um, so that was kind of awkward. Um, I'm trying to reconnect with her and she's got a boyfriend. So, we hang out. She ends up leaving. I am beside myself. And I'm like, whatever, party ends, I go to bed. Go back to Bible college, whatever. Years go by. I don't see her. I don't hear from her. I don't know what's going on. All I know is I'm crazy in love with her. And so years go by. I start writing albums. Me and a friend of mine go to a local show at the American Legion Hall in East Peoria. Now I have to be careful what I want to indulge about her life. We randomly ran into her there with, again, she's there with her then boyfriend. She's in a mental state that disturbs me. I'll just put it that way. I go home and write a very angry song called Crucifix Needle. No one is ever going to get to hear it. It was an angry song that was crude, vulgar, and compared finding salvation in a syringe. So that happens. A year later, thinking about her, I write another instrumental piano song. It's just called Pretty Piano Song, which I dedicate to her because I was maybe thinking about her when I wrote it. I don't know. Anyway, it's her song nevertheless. So years go by. I forget about it. I don't see her anywhere. Like, we're living two separate lives. 2006 rolls around. And for 6 years, me and specifically my friend Ben and some of my other friends have been doing karaoke at karaoke bars. So, this is no different. We go to the elbow room like we do all the time, get a couple pitchers of beers over the night, go through a couple pitchers of beers while we sing songs. So funny little detail, like I always used to joke with people because we drank a lot. We would put down 3 pitchers of beer in 4 hours. And I used to joke to people, I'm like, okay, but if I start singing Bon Jovi, cut me off. That was a running joke. Because I sang Bon Jovi a couple times. Not that I couldn't sing Bon Jovi. Oh, I certainly could. But if I get to that state of mind where I want to, cut me off. Because I've had too much to drink. Cut me off. I'm done. So anyway, side joke. There I go, filling in all the little details that have nothing to do with the story, but I just like to flesh out the substance of what was going on. So we go do karaoke at the Elbow Room on Main Street at the top of the hill in Peoria. If anybody knows where that's at, that used to be my old stomping grounds for 5 years. So we go to the Elbow Room one night. in like the first week of July, I think. First week of July, 2006. We walk in. And who is there? Jen is there. It's like, wow, okay. So Jen and I have a lot of catching up to do. Jen, surprisingly, looks at my friend Ben and says, "Oh my God, he's still so hot." And I was like, okay. She can't keep her arms off of from around my neck. We pretty much spent the entire night like that, with her head nuzzled into my chest. And we talked. She had moved out to Portland. She hated it. But she confirmed to me that yes, she did have feelings for me. Which just served to stir up all of mine. So we have this beautiful evening. It's pouring rain outside. And I remember she had to go outside to take a phone call from her mom that night in the pouring rain because it was too loud inside. So she went outside into the alley around the corner in the pouring rain to take this phone call. She comes back in. She's like, "Hey, my mom says hi." I was like, "Oh, your mom remembers me? Oh, okay, cool." So we have this incredible evening. I go home and write this 11-minute magnum opus to her. 11-minute song. And I don't see her again for another year. She was making a lot of bad life decisions at the time. So it's probably for the best that our paths didn't cross more often, because in hindsight, it was evidently clear that we could not have been together at that point in our lives. It just wouldn't have worked. So by this point, by 2006, I realized this and had accepted the fact that, okay, I'm just going to patiently wait for her to figure her life out, and I'll be here. I'm not going anywhere. I'll be here. It's all good. In fact, I kind of hint on that in this 11-minute song. I hint at it. So a year goes by. It's 2007 now. Me, Ben Jackson, and Ben Grethy had just gone to see Spider-Man 3 in the theaters. We're all hyped up. So we stop at Walmart. I go in and find this really cool, some of you might remember it, black suit Spider-Man t-shirt. I used to wear it all the time. I literally wore it till it was had holes in it and was falling apart. That, and I started putting on a whole bunch of weight in my late 30s, and it didn't fit anymore because it was small. In 2007, like, I had a very petite upper body, so it was a small. And plus, like, I was still in my rock star phase, so I wore tight-fitting shirts. That was just my style. So I go in Walmart. I buy this Spider-Man t-shirt. I come out. There's a tour bus outside. I find out later that the two Bens had just casually strolled on board. Turns out it was Jimmy Eat World's tour bus. They were parked. Somebody had to run inside for something. They walked on the bus, only to be met by, "Shh, my daughter's sleeping in the back." So they're like, "Okay." They say hi and they leave. Meanwhile, I'm standing out in the parking lot, and guess who pulls up? Jen pulls up in her car. She gets out, surprised and pleased to see me. She's like, "Hey, what's up? We need to hang out sometime. We should go see Spider-Man 3. I'm like, "Well, it's funny that you mentioned that. We just got done watching it." So I'm like, "Okay, yeah, let's hang out sometime." We're friends on MySpace because it's 2007, so it's all about MySpace. We're friends on MySpace. She has every opportunity to get a hold of me. She just doesn't, because she's in her life, in her world, doing her thing, and I'm in mine. And for whatever reason, it just never connected. Nothing ever came together. It's one of those star-crossed tragedies. So anyway, so we're like, "Okay, yeah, let's hang out." That's the last time I saw her alive. At all. No, that's the last time I saw her. Period. Punctuation point. So, a couple months later, it's July 2007, God starts to take me on his journey. I end up homeless, moved to Iowa. I'm there for 6 months. I moved to Albuquerque. I'm there for 2 years. I moved to Bloomington, Illinois. I'm there for 5 years. While I am there, I had gotten my own place. I had a house converted into a Victorian house built in 1873, I think, because I did the research on the house. I went through a phase in 2011, 2012, 2013 where I was fascinated and picked up the hobby of researching the history of houses. So, old Victorian house converted into 3 apartments in the 70s. So I live in one of those apartments. That's the place I got for myself. And watching a lot of Doctor Who at the time, completely forgot about Jen. So it's October 2011. And I get the phone call from Ben. Jen's dead. Not only is she just dead, she was brutally murdered. This was way more than my high frequency brain could process at the time. All I could think about was she hated Christians. She hated Christianity. And everything I know about the Bible tells me she was not saved. And she's probably burning in hell. My brain could not process that. I went for a big long walk that night, poured my heart out to God. Never really got over the initial numb feeling. Because when you're told something like that, your emotions go numb. And I never really processed it. What I ended up doing, because this is the way my brain works, it's default. It does it with everything. It's how I process information. It intellectualized it. It tried to mathematically formulate and compute this loss. Well, you can't do that. It doesn't work. But I didn't know that. I wasn't aware of what was going on. It was just happening. So I intellectualized it, filed it away in the back of my brain, and never really dealt with it. Years go on. I thought I was over it. I thought I had dealt with it. 2018. July of 2018. I'm in Mount Vernon, Kentucky. I'd gotten married. My wife had left me. I'm working at IGA, waist deep into gas station log. Gas station log was an opportunity for me to pour myself out through creative expression. It was therapeutic, and it helped me heal from the loss of my wife leaving me. For some reason, one day, all my feelings for Jen Gertzen popped up. And I became overwhelmed and obsessed with it for about a week. I found her mom on Facebook, messaged her, sent her the 11-minute song that I wrote, because Jen never got to hear it. She never got to hear any of the 3 songs. Thank goodness she never heard Crucifix Needle. That would have been bad. But she never got to hear the songs I wrote for her. But I sent it to her. The 11-minute song basically summed up my feelings and what I got out of this 10 years of feelings, summed up. She said she liked the song. She thanked me for loving her Jenny. And I never heard from her again. I messaged her. I inquired. I'm like, so tell me about Jen. Tell me things I didn't know. And she never got back with me. So I went through about a 2 to 3 week period of time, maybe longer, I don't know, period of time where it came back up and I had to deal with it. And I didn't really deal with it. I intellectualized it again because I thought that would work. Honestly, I didn't even think about it. I'm just like, I don't know how to deal with this. And I just lived in it until it went away. Two years, okay, so by the end of 2018, I get with Kayla. Kayla and I talk about it here and there occasionally. Kayla was fascinated by it. It helped me explore it with me rather than be the typical girl who gets defensive and jealous of other girls that had my heart. She embraced it and helped me explore it with me, which was beautiful. So I wasn't overwhelmed by feelings of loss or what never came to be, the loss of potential. I was exploring it with someone. But then Kayla and I broke up in February of 2020. And by April, May, June, somewhere in there, it came back up just like it did in 2018. And I actually believed her spirit or ghost, if you will, was visiting me. Over the course of a year, I would frequently get visits from her ghost. What was it? Was it all in my head? Was it real? Was it a real spiritual interaction? I have no idea. I know what the Bible says about that. Or was it all in my head? I think it's likely it was probably just all in my head. Because my high frequency 160 IQ brain didn't know how to process. It could crunch numbers and calculate how to score an episode of Gas Station Log and create a dramatic theatrical production out of a guy sitting in a gas station talking about his life. It could do that all day, but processing loss on this massive of a scale was not something it could do. So over the course of that year, I dealt with it by creating the illusion, what would you call that? What is the word? Hallucinate. So I had this hallucination that her spirit was visiting me, comforting me. And that's how my brain processed it. So eventually I moved up here to Bloomington, Indiana, and it went away. And then I ended up at Wheeler Mission. She didn't bother me there. My emotions, thoughts didn't bother me. And here I am at my mom's, dealing with neurological issues. And about a week ago, it came back up. Full force, dam broke, flood coming in like a tidal wave because the dam broke. I quickly realized I have not dealt with this. I have not actually grieved. And what I've done is intellectualized it, suppressed it, shoved it aside, and it's refusing to be side channeled anymore. And God tells me, you have to deal with this. And he gave me the analogy that when you are the family at a funeral or a visitation, so let's look at a visitation or a wake or a celebration of life. Not so much the funeral, but the gathering. Everybody comes through, pays their respects. Nobody knows what to say or wants to say anything. So they're like, sorry for your loss. The important thing is they are there for you. They are physically there to let you cry on their shoulder, and it doesn't matter what they say because it's not going to matter to you because you're chin deep in grief and it's not going to sink in probably anyway. So God is sitting back saying, it doesn't matter what I say to you. There's no profound truth that I can reveal to you, even though I could. It's not going to matter to you because you need to grieve this out. Just know that I'm here for you. I'm standing by, but you need to go through this. So I give myself a comfy pillow to lay my head on while I grieve. I've been playing with AI generated photos since December, maybe. And I'm blown away by how much it has advanced just since December. In December, I was generating AI pictures of me and Kayla together in fictional scenarios, like we're on the bridge of the Enterprise, and it butchered her likeness. I generated pictures of us back when we were teenagers, as if we had always been together since the beginning, because it's cute. So, in order to help me grieve, I gave myself a comfy pillow to lay my head on. And I generated pictures of me and Jen together today, not as a living in a fantasy kind of escape, but as if I was peering through the multiverse and I found a parallel universe timeline where she isn't dead. We did end up together and we're happy, which is a plausible scientific theory. And I found solace in that. So, it was the cushion to soften the blow of dealing with the grief. And I'm dealing with the grief. I'm talking it out with people. I'm sharing memories. I acknowledge that, yes, I absolutely need to talk to a therapist. I've been waiting to get plugged into one since February. I'm finally getting plugged into one. But what do you call it? So, give me one of these. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. I've been talking about this for 47 minutes, guys. Pookie, are you still here? You haven't said anything in a while. I don't know. It's not showing that anybody's in here. No, it's showing there's no one in here. Well, that's sad. I'm pouring my heart out in my life story about how I loved someone so fiercely and intensely, and there's no one here to listen. Hopefully, people will come back for views later and check it out. But anyway, so we just hit the 48-minute mark, and I still have something else to talk about. I just didn't realize it was going to take 48 minutes to tell this whole story. But I wanted to lay it out there. I wanted everybody. Okay, so for 30 years, I have been sitting in isolation with these feelings that go all the way back to 96. And that magical night we shared under the tree where 5.5 hours went by in a few minutes. And I have never experienced that kind of magic with anyone. And it might be obvious to some of you that know me. It's finally starting to make sense to me now that I've acknowledged that I have a high frequency brain, that all of my feelings are high frequency and come off as intense. So it makes perfect sense to me. It's no big shock to me that I tend to fall in love with people fiercely and intensely. And with some people, it's been borderline obsessive. Kayla. So anyway, so that's where I'm at in May of 2026 with all of this. So, yeah. Now I have to change gears. And now I have to change gears, which is difficult for a high frequency brain like mine that tends to get tunnel vision and have a one track mind. I've been talking about this for 50 minutes now. I have intensely channeled intense emotions that have spanned 30 years into a 50-minute monologue because there's nobody here to make it a dialogue. And now I have to change gears and talk about something else that I want to talk about. And I'm just being open and transparent with you. I have always had a hard time doing that, but somehow I've managed to pull it off smoothly. Every single one of my video blogs, my podcasts, when I cut to a different topic, some of you have maybe noticed I tend to have a couple minutes or seconds or whatever, a blank face, because I have to switch gears. So anyway, I'm going to switch gears, and I'm filling that blankness with ramble, idle talk. That's what I'm doing right now. So anyway, okay. So let's shift gears. I have spent the last 3 years at Wheeler. And I'm frustrated because I just had my neurologist follow-up appointment where we went over the test results of all the tests that I've been going through over the last couple months since February. And now it's the end of May. Almost the end of May, third week of May. I've been dealing with all kinds of neurological symptoms. I am experiencing severe memory loss. My mind, my cognitive function is falling apart. And the neurologist says all of the tests came back normal. There is nothing physically wrong with my hardware. And she's dumping me back to psychology and psychiatry and says I need to plug into a therapist. So I'm very frustrated because this is the camp I've been sitting in my whole life. And we've gotten nowhere. Nowhere. I've been on bipolar medication for the last 9 years plus 4 years, 5 years, 4.5 years. So 9 plus 4.5 is 13.5, I think. So for 13.5 years, for 9 years, I was on Seroquel, which didn't really have any side effects that I was aware of, but I still couldn't live a functional adult life. I couldn't hold down a job except for IGA. And honestly, I've come to the conclusion the only reason I was able to hold down the job at IGA because it was very low stress. I did almost nothing. And I used it as a platform to film Gas Station Log. So the only fulfillment I found in working that job, making money, and paying my bills was the fact that I was able to creatively express my life and process the grief of losing my ex-wife and make a theatrical drama production out of it. And that, God used that as the glue to hold it all together. Every job I had before that and since then has been a mess. I haven't been able to keep it. I lose jobs for the same reason. I don't remember exactly what she said, but Gina at the neurology follow-up appointment the other day, I think said it best. And the thing is she's only known me since 2001. She has only lived in close proximity and been able to observe me since 2021, late November of 2020. And she has been able to observe the patterns of my life and make sense of them. And she basically summed up my entire job experience, my entire life experience, in a very streamlined, profound way. And I don't remember what she said or how she said it. But I think it even caught Lynn by surprise, because Lynn had raised me, suffered through all of this my entire life, so for 40 years, and we couldn't figure it out. We went to doctor after doctor after doctor trying to figure it out, and we couldn't. When I was a child, everybody said, oh, he's got ADD, ADHD, and they medicated me for it, and it didn't help. It didn't work. It turned me into a zombie. By the time I was 12, I was hit by a minivan. They took me off all medication because I was in critical condition, and I healed, and I never got back on it until I was in Bible college. I went to a doctor because I was struggling, and I was in Bible college doing what I loved, so it didn't make sense. You've got a brilliant, high IQ guy doing exactly what he wants to do, what he loves to do. And so why is he still struggling? So we went to we went and saw another doctor, and he diagnosed me with bipolar with schizophrenic tendencies. Now, in 99, 2000, there was a big shift. In 99 and prior, they called it manic depression. By 2000, they had given it a new name and realized some things about it and started calling it bipolar. So in 2000, I was diagnosed with bipolar schizophrenic tendencies. For whatever reason, I don't know, he put me on Adderall, which is basically concentrated meth. I hated being on it. And in the fall of 99, no, this doesn't add up. Okay, I don't know what's going on here. I partied with my friends in the spring of 98. They were gone by 99. So I have conflicting memories here in my brain of partying with my friends, going camping, drinking alcohol while on Adderall in 98. But I didn't start talking to a counselor about it until the fall of 99. It was the spring of 2000 when I saw a doctor and he diagnosed me with bipolar schizophrenic and put me on the Adderall. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know what the timeline is because my memory is fragmented and jumbled and out of order. All I know is I went out drinking with my friends, camping in the spring of 98, and drank 2 beers, lost complete motor control, couldn't play my guitar, puked my guts up, and passed out in the tent. in the spring of 98. And I took myself, I just stopped taking. I said, screw this, I'm done. I probably didn't say screw this, but I said something along those lines and said, I'm done. And I stopped taking it. The powder in this thing is leaking, and I hate it when it does that. Now I've got nicotine powder in my mouth, and I hate that. It rarely does that, but I just got one that did it. It empties out of the pouch into my mouth. This is okay. So this is I didn't think this is going to end up being another long story. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to take over an hour of your time. I thought this would be a half-hour video telling these two stories, but it's already an hour and I'm only halfway through this story. So, but I'm going to keep telling it because I want to put it out there because I'm frustrated with where my life has brought me psychologically. So it's 2000. I know it's 2000. I get diagnosed with bipolar and schizophrenic tendencies, and he puts me on Adderall, despite the fact that I was taking Adderall in 98, and that's when I had the bad experience and took myself off of it. I'm telling you, time is not linear. It's not. It fluctuates due to God knows what reason. So anyway, so I take myself off the Adderall, and I spend the next 11 years not medicated, falling on my face, not able to hold down jobs. By this point, I'm headlong into I have to live an adult life, and I just can't. I'm falling flat on my face over and over. And the only escape, the only solace I find is by 2002, I say, I'm done. I'm done trying. And I lose myself into the world of writing and recording music. I find I'm good at it. I'm prolific at it. I wrote 4 albums in a 7-year period. Okay, so in 2001, I take songs I've written in 2000, crappy demos, and turn them into something beautiful but unrefined. And in 2002, I finish and put out my second demo. My first demo is crap. It sucked. There is no drummer. There is no metronome. I don't line my tracks up to a centralized rhythmic center. But by 2001, I start recording my iDemo, and I have a keyboard with a built-in drum machine. So I'm finally able to do that. Okay, so that's not hard. And I'm able to record songs to a centralized drummer, essentially, and it actually sounds decent. I pour my soul into recording these songs, and it's beautiful, but it's unrefined because I recorded on an 4-track analog tape machine. And I record music so prolifically, I wear the thing out. It stops working. I wear it out in 2 years. No, in 4 years. Because I recorded my first demo on it without a drum machine and without a drummer. And I recorded my second demo on it, and all the B-sides that I threw away, which are available on YouTube, they're out there. I put them out there because they're a piece of me. They're a piece of my legacy. So by 2002, August, September of 2002, I buy a digital 4-track with all kinds of drum patterns built into it. And I start recording my double album concept album called Liar. And it soars to a new level. So I find something I'm really good at, something I love doing. Meanwhile, society demands that I conform to the responsibilities of adult living, and I just can't. I just can't. I can't hold down a job for more than a couple months, 6 months at most at a time. And I don't want to try. I want to pour myself into what I love doing because that makes sense to me. Why should you have to slave and grind over something you can't do just to fulfill a societal responsibility? I just wanted to sit at home and write and record music and play it out live at shows. And it didn't equate, it didn't make sense to me that I couldn't just do that. Well, I said, screw it, and I did it anyway. So, in 2004, I get a band together, and we start working on my fourth. Well, what would become my fourth album? We were a band, and we were a unique entity, writing songs collaboratively, collectively. There's 42 songs in the playlist, and they're not even all up yet. They're all downloaded to my phone. I have the entire discography downloaded to my phone from my Google Drive. But it's not online yet. But I have 42 songs, plus some that I haven't uploaded that we wrote collaboratively. We got together to play a show, and our guitar player ditched out on us. And I settled back into writing music with a couple people. And by 2007, I released my fifth album. And by 2008, I finally got a computer that was capable of video editing. And I found another passion and hobby that I loved: video editing, multimedia production. So I was able to start pouring myself into that. Meanwhile, I still can't hold down jobs. I still can't function as an adult. This almost should have been 2 separate videos. But anyway, maybe I can make them. Maybe I can split it up. But anyway, I digress. So 2011 rolls around, 2011, 2011, call it whatever you want. April of 2011, it all catches up to me. And I end up in the hospital, where I finally get plugged into a psychiatrist again. And he confirms my diagnosis and diagnoses me with bipolar, puts me on a couple different medications for anxiety and bipolar. They don't work, and the bipolar medication has a side effect that becomes immediately and blaringly problematic. I am a musician, songwriter, recording artist, and whatever medication, I don't remember what it was called, Tegretol, changes the frequency that I process sound at. and I start noticing it. I'm watching Star Trek, and Captain Kirk's voice is deeper and lower pitch. This medication puts a pitch shifter on my brain and how I process sound. I'm like, this is not okay. I tell the doctor, he puts me on Seroquel. Seroquel, for all I'm able to tell, seems to work, no side effects, but I still can't function as an adult. I start losing time, hour chunks of time. So let me give you an example. I'm sitting at my computer. I watch an episode of Star Trek, which I already know to be 51 minutes, no commercials. It's a DVD rip. So 51 minutes of measurable time goes by. I watch an episode of Star Trek. It's over. I glance at the clock and it's 5 hours later. I'm like, what the hell just happened? This starts happening frequently. And I don't know what's going on. And then it kind of fades and I forget about it. So in 2016, I have moved to Kentucky. Ginger and I are married. I'm a leader in Celebrate Recovery. So one night in particular that stands out to me, we go to the Celebrate Recovery meeting. I'm not a leader yet. I don't become a leader until 2017. It's 2016. We go to the meeting. I'm sitting there in the middle of the meeting. I get hungry. I get a crazy hair up my ass to go jump in my Jeep, drive down to the bottom of the hill where there's a McDonald's and get food. I expect to be gone 15, 20 minutes. I go to McDonald's, I get food, I eat it in the driver's seat of my car. I drive back up the hill. When I'm eating the food, it's light outside. I remember that. But somewhere between leaving McDonald's and driving up that hill, it's dark and 9:30 by the time I get up to the top of the hill. And I pull up and Ginger's wondering, where have you been? Melissa, her mom, is freaking out. Where have you been? It's been hours because I left at 6:15, 7:15. I don't know. Yeah, we ate at 6. The meeting started at 7. I left at 7:15. I get back up to the top of the hill. It's 9:30 and it's dark. And I have no idea what just happened. So it seems like it's an isolated incident. I don't notice that it happens again. In 2019, the Seroquel stops working. They put me on olanzapine a month before I move up to Bloomington, Indiana. Draw any conclusions you want, but I've made this observation. As I already stated, the only reason I held my job at IGA for so long is because it was my outlet to make gas station log. That job was the stage that I filmed it on. And then I would go home, edit the video, and put it out there. Go back to work the next day and do it again. For 14 months. It's the longest I've ever held a job because it wasn't about the job. I think the job itself was so simple, streamlined, and straightforward that if I hadn't been making gas station log, I would have gotten bored with it, self-destructed on it like I always do, and lost it a long time ago. But making gas station log had become such a fused part of me showing up to work, doing a good job, and keeping that job. And I'm going to give credit where credit is due. God held it together for me. I am a mess that consistently self-destructs on my life. So God used this season to fuse Gas Station Log with this job so that they were one. And that's why I was able to keep it for so long. By 2020, I was making Stevig's log because it wasn't set in a gas station and I couldn't call it Gas Station Log. On my own, about my own personal life in whatever setting I wanted to film it in. So when I moved back to Mount Vernon in July of 2020, it wasn't a fused, cohesive piece. It was, I did Gas Station Log, and I had a job at IGA. And I fell flat on my face working at this job at IGA. I started back in July. By September, I was falling on my face, losing my job. Steve, because he was such a great guy, kept hiring me, kept letting me come back and try again over and over, like 5 times. He dismissed my problem and kept me as a hired payroll employee. He'd put me back on it and bring me back. Finally, by late October of 2020, I was hospitalized again because the Seroquel stopped working. We were headlong into COVID, and my intense, warring, hostile theories about it got the better of me. Black Lives Matter riots were happening all over the country, and I became aggressive and hostile on social media about it, and it got the police's attention. The police came to my apartment and said, "What's going on? Is there a problem? Like, do you need help?" I was aware that the Seroquel had stopped working, and I was like, "Oh, my Seroquel's not working. I'm losing my mind." So they hospitalized me, where I got put on olanzapine. A week later, I get out of the hospital, and Steve has taken me off payroll. I don't know why, because I had the hospital call them and tell them I've been hospitalized. I've done it before, and there was no problem. I was hospitalized right after my Ginger left me, my ex-wife, and there was no problem. That was in January of 18. By February of 18, I was making Gas Station Log. So I was hospitalized in late October of 2020, and I lost my train of thought. Oh, and so I came back, and Steve had taken me off payroll again. I lost my job. This time, he's done. I got to figure something out. I live in a motel room, a nice one, filled with roaches, but I could never afford to begin with. And now I have no job. I absolutely can't afford to stay here. I have to find something out, and I have to find it out quick. So my mom, Gina, and my sister get together and decide they're going to come scoop me up and bring me to Bloomington, Indiana. So that's what happened. I move up here. By July of 21, I get a job at Kroger in their gas station, because at this point, It's the only thing that ever works for me. And I think the formula to success is working in a gas station. I didn't realize the formula. I realized this a couple weeks ago, maybe a week ago, that the formula to success was actually making gas station log. That is what made it successful. So I worked this job for until January of 22, where again, I self-destruct on it. My anxiety gets the better of me and I lose the job. I literally quit the job because I can't handle the anxiety and the emotional stress my supervisor was putting on me. So I'm unemployed again. And at this point, I have my own apartment. So I get hired on at IU doing custodial janitorial work. That's what Gina does. She helps get me on there. I worked there 2 months. Remember, I'm on a Lanzapine. I worked there 2 months. And I oversleep my shift every day for a week. So I lose that job. It's gone. I spend the rest of 22 unemployed, without a car, without a driver's license. I don't know what to do at this point. And I immerse myself in the escape of, well, I'm back to where this isn't working again. I'm going to escape into something that does. So I'm streaming games on Twitch, part of another person's Twitch community. And this goes on until New Year's Eve 2022. I wake up 2023, January 1st, and they've shut my internet off for good. So I spend until March of 2023 with no internet. The only thing I have to do is play Animal Crossing. I'm completely isolated at this point because that's what I do when I live on my own and I don't interact with people, is I isolate into my own head and I avoid people. So when my mom and my sister do want to hang out, I don't want to leave my house. I just want to stay there in my own personal space, stuck in my own head, and live not in reality. Because I can't function as an adult in the real world. So I escape into the fiction of my own head. So I end up at Wheeler Mission because I lose the apartment. My power gets shut off. Now, this is where I get into where I'm really frustrated. I spent 3 years at Wheeler, not isolated, in community, in the foundations program. I excel at it because I'm a Bible student and a Bible scholar and a theologian at this point. And I graduate the foundations program and get into the servant leader training program, where they fill your head and brainwash you with mental illness is a lie, psych meds are a fraud, it's not biblical, and God alone has the power to heal you and deliver you from your mental illness. And in the SLT program, they even sent me through a biblical counseling class that embeds your brain with the same thing. I start to embrace it. I start to immerse myself in the ideology of biblical counseling, sola scriptura, that scripture and God alone are sufficient to overcome mental illness. They hire me on as full-time staff at Wheeler Mission because I'm excelling at it so well I'm a Bible scholar and a theologian with a genuine heart that cares about the unhoused and the marginalized. I have since 2017. I stepped down as a leader in Celebrate Recovery in Kentucky because God called me to this and I started pursuing it. So the fall of 2025, I love what I'm doing, but I start falling on my face doing it. I develop all these neurological problems. The losing chunks of hours returns. I'm working the night shift from 6 to 6. And by about midnight, after I put everyone to bed and shut the lights off and start doing laundry and start doing my reports on the computer, that is when I start losing time. I will start doing my reports at 12:30 and glance down at the clock on the computer, and I'm not done with them yet, and notice it's 3:30 in the morning. My memory starts falling apart. I start experiencing severe memory loss. By January of 26, the director realizes this is a big problem. We can't have you on staff if this is happening. So they put me on medical leave to pursue neurologists and doctors and find out what's going on, which is incredibly gracious of them. So my employment ends. I go back to being a full-time SLT. Immediately shifting back to the day shift after being on the night shift for August of 25 until January of 26. They immediately shift me back to the day shift, and I don't adjust. I start having seizures, what we've concluded are stress-induced seizures that are not epileptic. They don't show up on an EEG. I start experiencing them 3 times a week. I start experiencing severe dizziness and fatigue, which HealthNet diagnosed as chronic fatigue. They refused to accept this diagnosis because HealthNet was for the guests, not the staff. And I shouldn't be talking to them. So they dismiss the diagnosis and say that's not what it is. And you are leaning on your own understanding, which is unbiblical and a sin, by trying to figure it out yourself. I'll let you guys conclude your own thoughts as to what you think of that. So anyway, I get to a point where it is so bad, I cannot perform my SLT duties. I need rest and lots of downtime. And they were insisting I wake up at 4:30 in the morning to start a 12-and-a-half-hour day at 6 a.m. until 6:30 p.m., which includes tasks at the shelter, classes, quiet time, devotion with the guys in program, and overseeing the foundation guys as a servant leader in training. As an SLT, I was unable, physically and mentally incapable of performing that task. So they demoted me back to foundations, which is phase 1 of the program. We had a Matthew 15, 18, 17 correctional meeting where we addressed these issues, and they issued discipline, church discipline on me because I was unable to fulfill my duties. They went through the SLT contract and highlighted half of it and said, this is what you're not doing. We're demoting you back to foundations because you are not fulfilling your contractual obligations as an SLT. Obviously, I'm experiencing neurological issues that are affecting my ability to function and do anything. So by this point, my mom and my sister, who live here in Bloomington, are getting angry. My mom pulls me out of Wheeler, lets me come stay with her so I can rehabilitate, pursue my doctor appointments, and we can figure out what's going on. So we do all the tests, and I have my neurological follow-up appointment where we go over the results of these tests on the 19th, whatever day that was. It's Wednesday now, or Thursday, I don't know, one of those days. And it's the 21st, and we had the follow-up appointment on the 19th. I'm experiencing severe memory loss. I am doing things and my brain is not logging them as memories. So I'm doing things with no knowledge or memory of having done them. And this is where I'm at. So I go to this neurological follow-up appointment, and my neurologist says, there is nothing physically wrong with your hardware. The MRI, the EEG, the 72-hour EEG, all the tests came back normal. She concludes it's psychological or psychiatric, and I need a therapist, and she's dumping me back over to them. This is where I've been since I was 5, and we haven't figured anything out that works. So all this stuff that's been happening since last fall is new. And my neurologist concluded it's all psychological, which leads me to this inescapable conclusion. I'm never going to figure out what's going on. Nothing is ever going to work. And I have been lied to and brainwashed for the last 3 years into thinking that mental health issues are a lie, psych meds are a fraud, and the entire psychiatric secular system is a house of cards. And now I am staring all of that in my own life in the face, and it's provoking a fight. And I'm right back where I started, when I was 5. I've gotten nowhere with this. And it's manifesting in very serious new neurological hardware malfunction ways. And I don't know where I'm supposed to go from here and what I'm supposed to do. I'm clearly unemployable. I am retired. And I don't know what I'm supposed to do with the rest of my life, however long that is, because I don't know if this stuff is going to make me a vegetable in a year or 20, or if this is just a rock in a stream that I have to step over. Am I ever going to get my brain back to normal? Am I ever going to? I don't know. I doubt it. So I have been preparing my legacy to pass on when I'm gone, because it seems like there's nothing left to do in this life except continue making these video blogs and sharing what I've learned and my life experience with the world, hoping that somebody gets something out of it, somebody connects with it, And we're at an hour and 35 minutes. Wow. So that's where I'm at. And at the same time, over the past week, I've been dealing with finally grieving for Jen. But God is good, and He takes care of me. So, yeah. Jesus loves you. Peace out. Grace and peace.